Time Clones, Book 1, Chapter 1. Read by the author. Chapter 1. 21st of May, 2028. Location, Secret Laboratory, Kisterwich. The big wooden door creaked and groaned, and Bob Stafford let out a heavy grunt as it opened. Water dripped onto the slabs as he took off his security guard's cap and hung his waterproof overcoat on the stand. He was a stocky man with a crew cut, wearing a brass name badge, pressed white shirt and black tie and trousers, neatly pressed, which showed the discipline and pride he had earned during his previous career in the army. Behind him, the large stained glass windows filled with lightning as the sky lit up with electricity. The brightness of the flash faded, plunging the inside of the abbey back to darkness, with only the flickering of his torch to show whatever the beam hit. With a firm grip on the wrought iron handle, he pulled the door closed with a satisfying clunk and turned the key. As he locked the door, he heard the familiar voices of the professor and his assistant echoing as they walked up the stairs towards him. "Hi, Bull," said Rhea, strolling towards him. She'd always called him this, ever since he'd told her that it was his nickname in the service. When the boys noticed his name was Stafford, so they called him Pitbull, then shortened it to Bull. It made him sound like someone you didn't want to trifle with, but in reality, Bull was a caring sort, and that's why he'd enlisted in the army in the role of medic. "Hey, miss, have you been pulling an all-nighter?" "Yeah, off to get some sleep now," she said, yawning. "That rain sounds bad," said the professor, listening to the crashing of water against the glass. "It's not too great, but the wind is worse. Nearly blew my cap off," he said, holding it up. Rhea smiled. "Glad you kept hold of it. By the way, ignore the mess in the lab. We will sort it out in the morning." Bull unlocked the door and opened it. The rain was much heavier now. "Okie dokie. Thanks for letting me know. You look shattered. I'd best let you two get off home." "Good night," said Rhea. "Come on, Uncle Eric. Let's get you home." The professor yawned as he opened the door, and moments later they had gone. Bob locked the massive wooden door. Looking around the deserted abbey, he could see the pews, crosses, and various other adornments from past blessings, marriages, baptisms, and funerals. The vast building had experienced its fair share of action, from its construction in the 1200s to the sieges and many battles, and had the scars to prove it. It had lost its roof twice, the first time in the bombings, and the second time after being hit by lightning. Thankfully, there were safeguards in place to ensure this would never happen again. The security guard wiped his feet on the large black mat and headed for the door to the crypt, the heels of his shiny black shoes clacking on the heavy flagstones. He sat down at the guard's station, put his feet up on the desk, switched on the lamp, glanced at the monitors for signs of music, and then flipped on the radio. With only 2 minutes towards the end of the game, the crowd was getting louder, as the prospect of a goal was becoming close, and the commentator was becoming very excited. Bull leant forward, egging his team on, knowing this was going to be it. The ball went from one player to another, and the crowd got louder as the ball went off the pitch. The commentator gave some history about the replacement, who came onto the pitch, and the referee called for a corner shot. Bob listened intently. He knew this was going to be it. That 50-1 bet he'd put down was going to make him rich. "James Sargent, the new transfer, is throwing the ball in. To Dave Henney, who picks it up. He's got control. Henney runs past McKinnon, Walsh and Davis as Jackson attempts to intercept and wipes out on the floor. The crowd is going wild. Where is the defence from the other team? The goal is completely open. He's lining it up. He takes the shot." There was a brilliant white flash of lightning. The radio was silent. The security monitors shut off and the lamp on the security guard's desk went black. Bob blinked his eyes in the dark. His night vision destroyed, he waited, staring into the darkness whilst fumbling for his torch. His hand touched the cold steel of the switch and he flicked it on. From the stairwell he saw a steady orange flash, on, off, and he followed it to investigate. There was a hum and a click as the emergency electricity kicked in. Gazing around, Bull recognized the box of the fire alarm. A mechanical-sounding voice spoke loudly over the speaker system. "Warning! There is a fire in the building. Please proceed to the nearest fire exit." "I need to ring someone," he thought. He reached into his blazer pocket, pulled out a mobile phone, and punched in the professor's number. Rhea answered the phone. "Hello?" "Hey, Rhea. Is the professor there with you? I've got a fire alarm going off down here. What should I do?" "Head downstairs to the fire point and grab the fire extinguisher, and then check the panel to see where the fire is. If you feel you can handle it, then please try to put the fire out. If you can't, then get out of there and we will deal with it." There was a scuffling noise as Rhea cupped her hand over the handset, and Bob heard her saying, "Come on, Uncle Eric, there's a fire at the lab." Bob hung up and put the phone back in his pocket. The generator whined to a stop. "Damn it. I knew I should have filled that with more fuel," he said to himself, mumbling in the darkness. The beam on the torch flashed across the familiar shape of a fire extinguisher. He grabbed it, then ventured downstairs, searching for signs of fire. Looking around each room, all he could find was the usual tech equipment the scientists used to create the unique inventions they were making. There was a weird hovering bicycle, a strange-looking necklace with a teardrop shape, some odd-looking foods, and something that looked like it should be in a spy movie. The last door at the end of the corridor led to the main lab, and Bob saw a flickering light. Inside the lab, there was a loud humming sound, and he could smell something. What was that smell? Onions? No. Frying bacon? Yes. Why could he smell bacon? Bull looked around for the source of the odour, and then came across the body of a naked man, completely motionless, lying on the table. He walked closer to see if the man was okay. As he approached, the smell of bacon and the odour of blood surrounded him, and the clicking footsteps of his shoes on the hard floor became more of a sticky, slapping noise as he stepped into an unknown substance. Looking down, he spotted all the goo that the professor and Rhea had warned him about, but quickly put his mind back on track to see if the man was okay. His army medical training kicked in, and within seconds he was checking the man's pulse and performing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, pumping his hands on his chest and breathing life-giving air into his lungs. A few moments later, the man's eyes flickered open and he breathed in sharply. He was alive.